Welcome to The Voice of Retail. I'm your host, Michael LeBlanc. And this podcast is brought to you in conjunction with Retail Council of Canada.
Éric Champagne, CIO for Boutique Levian Rose, and Olivier Roy, co-founder and CEO of Leav, join the podcast together to share insights around the tradecraft of retail technology innovation and implementing frictionless in-store self-checkout solutions.
We measure it by the size of basket. So usually people who are happier shopping and it's easier, they'll buy more units. So that's one thing we're looking at. Average invoice, average basket, number of units per basket. How many users are actually using it? We try to aim for a 10% transaction during our tests. Once we deploy a little bit more and we train the employees to ask the customer or to entice the customer to use the solution. We do talk to our employees also.
Éric, Olivier, welcome to the Voice of Retail podcast. How are you both doing this afternoon?
Very good. Thank you very much for asking. How about yourself?
Very well. And Olivier, what's going on?
Doing great. Thank you very much for having us.
Well, it's great to have you both on the mic. Great to have the opportunity to talk to both, the retailer and a very interesting technology that has come together. And we're going to talk about some trends that brought the two of you together. And Éric, a little bit about how you make your choices and the world that you live in and why you do the things you do and all kinds of fun stuff like that. But why don't we jump right in? Éric, let me ask you first. Tell me about a bit of your background and what you do for a living.
Well, I'm a 30-year plus veteran in retail business, technology, supply chain, and I've been working as a CIO for Levian Rose for the last 5 years. I've always worked with retailers and tried to put technology that makes everybody's life easier. Mm-hmm. I am not a techie, as we might say, but I'm very interested in how can the technology tools help the business and help the people using it. That's pretty much my background. I've been doing that for 30 years plus.
I can't imagine many people would not have heard of Levian Rose, but they might not know everything about you. They might not know you're also, for example, Bikini Village and how many stores you've got, and you go online, and do you trade in Canada and outside? So give us just an overview of the retail business.
Yeah, Levian Rose is a Canadian retailer based in Montreal, privately owned. We operate under two banners in Canada. Levian Rose stores, we have about 230 locations, and Bikini Village, we operate about 70 locations in this country. We sell e-commerce for Levian Rose in Canada and the United States, very softly in the US. Still don't have much marketing around that. We're still testing the entire environment. We also operate in a franchisee model in the Middle East, where we have over 100 locations. But the basic, most of the operation is done brick and mortar in Canada.
And is it fair to say, from what I know about your business, that most of your stores are in shopping malls rather than standalone? Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, we have a couple of street stores. We have some about 100 locations in power centers, as we may call them. But yes, absolutely in shopping malls across the country, and still growing. Very happy about that.
Well, I think we're all happy that people are traveling again, and that's a very important part of your business, right?
Yeah, it does help a lot. The Bikini Village banner, of course, with the bathing suits for men and women, people traveling. People also got pools built in their backyard, so it's a very good thing. So we can't complain right now.
Olivier, tell the folks about yourself. Who are you, and what do you do?
Well, I'm Olivier. I'm a co-founder of Leav. We are a startup based in Montreal, looking at enabling retailers to give a new and innovative way to shop in store. We're mainly focusing for apparel, sporting goods, and main street retail stores. And really what we have in mind is giving time to people back, enabling just customers to go in store, buy by themselves the item on their cell phone without going to any cashiers. And really the idea came because with my co-founders, we were in a bar a couple of years ago, and we wanted to pay our bill. And at that time, basically there was no obvious way to pay rapidly. We had to wait for the waiter to come. And well, we started to work on that little startup. And when COVID hit, we decided actually to pivot into retail because it was one place we were going a lot. We love shopping. And as shoppers, we always wanted to find a way to shop faster and on a more, we'll say, millennial approach in a way.
Right. So the genesis of the idea was, how do I serve myself? And so you thought that retail would be a pretty good place to that. Éric, let's talk about that in terms of, not just the technology. As you say, you're less a technologist and more a strategist. So let's talk about strategy a little bit. As you think about the past couple of years, we've had some trends accelerated, some trends creating, with all your experience, what are the things that are going to stick? What are the most pressing things you think of that are different or that are kind of rise to the top of your mind as you think about what you do and the partners you look for?
Well, it's not about technology. It's about the fact that brick and mortar is going to stay. We saw with the closure of many locations through the pandemic in pretty long stretches of 80, 90, 100 days of store closure, mall being closed down, the web did go up, but it never picked up the entire volume that retailers do in their stores. So to me, that's the biggest, most interesting thing, is that the retail brick and mortar locations are going to remain in this country and across the world. People love going out to shop. But at the same time, people got more impatient on waiting, on not being serviced right away. People were on Amazon for 2 years and they got their stuff delivered the next day. So now people expect a fast service into stores. And fortunately or unfortunately, the landscape in the store for servicing the customers for straight transactions. Now, when I talk about straight transaction, is just a cash and carry or pay and get out, and there's no exchanges, there's no returns, there's no complication. You're not necessarily buying a gift card or having multiple method of payments to complete your transaction. 80% of the transaction could be done easily through a device. So that's what we've been looking for, and this is what is slowly triggering a shift in technology. Customers now shop with their phones in their hands. They pre-shop because they had plenty of time during the pandemic to pre-shop, and they were able to get things done really, really quickly. This is what I think is staying. Fast service, it needs to move quickly, and brick and mortar is going to remain so strong.
Yeah. Now let's talk about the role of the associates and all that. You raised many interesting points. Often the associates are talking to the top of people's heads, right, as they're kind of staring down into a mobile device. But as we think about this intersection of making it easy for them to transact with applications like Leav and being something, some kind of personal interaction. I know that when I go into your stores, it's often the experience that I witness that they're talking a lot to the people and people are coming in and asking for help. So how do you merge those two things together, a fast checkout and the full service that people love from your brands?
I think they work very well together. The interaction in the stores, yes, for the type of product we have, is servicing, is some fitting to happen. They need to try the product, and they need to be informed on how the product can be worn. And they want to spend less time at the cash. So we can do both at the same time, and having more people, more associates helping out the customers outside of just a basic transaction at the cash wrap. This is where we see a huge benefit, where people can shop around using their phone, scanning the product, and at the same time interact with an associate that is not waiting behind the cash wrap or behind the counter. So that will help definitely increase, I think, the interaction, the relationship between the customers and the retailers. We will always have, and like we do today, like anybody gets customers coming in, they want product ABC, and they just go at the cash wrap, they get out. Now they'll be able to do the same thing throughout their phone in a much faster way, and maybe come in the store more often because it will be so convenient to shop. But most customers do want to have an interaction with the staff, and at least we'll have staff available now. That's very interesting.
Yeah, that's a really a super interesting point. In other words, let's free up some people to add more value and have more interaction in the stores, and then free them up. Olivier, is that how you approach usability and like how did you come to where you are in terms of how the app works? And just give me an overview of, if I'm from a consumer perspective, what I can experience when I'm using Leav.
Since the beginning, we had this philosophy of building a platform that was really made for the customer. We wanted to build something that us as customer we wanted to use. And Éric said it well. We want as customer to go in a store and find an employee, know where a specific item is, or know what would fit the best on me. And that part was always difficult going on in some locations. And having a tool in your hand where you can get a recommendation, where you can just pay faster and just leave the store, that brings that part of finding an employee easier in the store, because they don't have to be behind a register. And in terms of how it works, it's quite simple. We try to enable the customer at the beginning of the journey. So when you enter the store, either you're going to be seeing a QR code with a sign saying, "Hey, scan the QR code," and you can have the shipping experience on your phone. Or either an employee can find you and say, "Hey, are you looking for something?" In case you want to buy something quickly, just scan the QR code that I have on me, and up to go. The customer scans it. It opens a web application, so there's really nothing to download. It runs on Safari or Chrome and any other web browser, honestly. And then it's up to you. You scan the barcode of any product in the store. It's going to be able to tell you if there's a promotion on it. It's going to tell you, hey, you should maybe add one more item to get that discount. And soon we're going to be rolling out a recommendation feature based on the cart that you have in your cart on your phone, and also based on the most sold product linked with those items and at a specific time for that store. And once I have all the product, either I'm going to have a bag that I picked up at the entrance of the store, or I can find a bag near other registers. I can bag my items, pay with my credit card, and that's it. I have my receipt. The retailer also have the receipt on the POS directly. So in case you want to do a return, you simply go see an employee, and as you would do a return normally, you can do it. And yeah, it's really that simple. It's really like shopping online, but in the store.
So Éric, question for you. How do you balance off, how do you know the balance of risk versus opportunity? So in that scenario that Olivier just talked about, that's not a conventional retail transaction, right? How are you sure during that transaction, I'm kind of getting into the details, that there's no theft happening, like loss prevention controls, which I know are important for everyone. Is there a sense, is that built in the process, or how did you approach that?
Today, there's a couple of ways we can use the system. Right now, we are using the basic barcode on each of the product, and we do ask the customers when they leave for a quick bag check. Show us your invoice, and we do have a bag check. It's okay. It works. We're still discovering the proper customer journey in the store, and yes, theft is one of the most complicated aspect of it. So we do know which shoppers is shopping using that application, because we have a dashboard on one of the screens in the store, so we know how many people are shopping, so we can ask for their invoice when they come out. Eventually, we'll try to get some RFID technology on that and connect it to the security pods we could have in the stores, and then we'll know exactly with the RFID which item has been purchased, because it's a unique code. So it will be easy to identify that the actual transaction occurred, it's paid for, and the customer can leave the store in security. And so this is where we're going. With all honesty, our customer journey is evolving every day, and it's very interesting. Right now, we're I would say we're educating the customers that do want to use that solution. And for all the ones who've used it so far, in a very limited amount of stores, they all love it. They all like it. And to make sure that we refine the technology, that it remains safe from an information standpoint, and that the customer can leave and get their product that they want in a fast manner.
That's a nice segue into my next question, which is, in your role, the difference between being asked to solve a problem, provide a solution, and discovering solutions and then bringing them to the business. So, which one was it for Leav, and how do you work? What's your process? What's your tradecraft as a leader of the department to say, listen, I was at a trade show, I saw this great technology. Do you think we're solving a problem that we have, or talk about that for a little bit?
For this particular project, it was something more I've been looking into for almost 10 years now. It started from a technology landscape where I was honestly tired of going into shows and see the resellers of printers, resellers of scanners, of screens. It says, you know what? The customer has all of that in his hands. And I've been looking for a partner. I've been looking for software out there that could help us, and there was nothing. So I kept looking, I kept asking, I went knocking at doors of huge corporations. No, they said, yeah, could be fun, but had no traction. And I think the customer maybe was not totally ready back then. From a self-checkout, things have evolved, went from the self-cash at the exit of a Walmart or a Canadian Tire here in Canada, through the Amazon Go technology that is very expensive, and my idea was it has to be cheap for the retailers, but it has to be very convenient for the customer. So in that aspect, again, I've been looking for this for many years. And when I saw Leav doing their mock-up stores, correct me if I'm wrong, Olivier, but I think it was in December of 2019.
2020.
2020. Thank you. I said, okay, let's check them out. Let's see how this could work. And we are today. It's deployed in a few stores downtown Montreal, and we're evolving, and it's super fun. Other types of projects, I'll go to the business and ask, okay, what are your main issues? What are your roadblockers right now? The basic lookout for what needs to be improved from every aspect of technology. But definitely at the end, it's really to improve the business process in order to serve the customer better. Has always been the case. We need to make sure the customers is pleased with our services, and if our employees have good systems to help the customers, and usually it's a winning combination.
It's funny, right? I don't know where we would be with projects like this without the QR code suddenly coming back. The QR code. Who knew it would have a second life the way it's had, right? It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, well, it's back to provide a service now, which was not necessarily the case. It's not an advertisement like it was in the past. No, we see it in restaurants today. So you get the QR code on the top of a table or on a piece of paper, replacing the menu. So you're looking at your screen. You can adjust the size of the screen. So it's the same thing with Leav in our stores. Now you adapt to the size of your screen. You shop the way you want. You look at it. You see immediately your promotion. You see immediately how much your basket is going to cost you. So the QR code now is using as a service instead of publicity, which makes it very interesting. Yeah. And it's a very secure way of connecting to a web app, so it makes it very, very interesting.
Now, you mentioned, I want to follow one thing you said, it's in pilot mode. Is that typical for you? You would pilot things, like do you have something where you've got to set up internally before it leaves and goes into a store, and then you've got another stage gate, I guess we would call it, that it's in a couple of stores. How long do you think you're going to test it for, and how many stores is it in? And again, I'm interested in just helping the listeners understand how you approach new technology and kind of actually putting it to use without disrupting the customer or employee experience.
Always in the same manner. Now, over the last 5 years, we've changed our ERP, we've changed our order management system, we changed our WMS, we've changed pretty much all our systems to get into newer technology. It's always the same approach. Look for the technology that's available, do a pilot on it, test it, configure it properly, roll it out slowly in 5 locations, and then everything's okay, we do a massive rollout. And that's true with everything we do from a technology standpoint. For the Leav project, I went into it more in a research and development project, where we did not put the entire IT team and business group into that project. We started doing it initially. It was Olivier and myself just talking and getting some things connected, and then he involved his developers, I involved a few people, the sysadmin, and then we grew it more in an R&D approach. But at the end, it was, we're going to test it in-house before we put it in the stores. We tested it in one store, it's working, and now we've deployed in the entire downtown Montreal landscape. We have 4 locations for La Vie en Rose. We have 1 location for Biki Village that's going to go live on the solution in the next couple of days. And we will deploy in Saint-Bruno the next month, and Rosemère also. So we'll start going outside of Montreal. Yeah. Again, because the consumer population is different, and it's in shopping malls. We'll have a different clientele. We'll have massive traffic during the weekends, so we'll be able to test the lineups, see if people are interested of using the system instead of waiting into a line for the cash. They'll be able to use the solution. So we continue testing. We're heading into Christmas, even if the listeners are not too thrilled about going to Christmas. We're heading there. Yeah. It's happening. Yeah. It's in 3 months from now. So
oh my goodness! Yeah, right. It was like a time tunnel. Olivier, it's like a time tunnel we've all been living through, right? Because it's time seems to have has really picked up. Now, for the both of you, and Eric, I'll start with you. How do you know that, how are you measuring it? Are you asking the employees? Are you, because you don't really have a benchmark to say, well, it's a faster checkout just in a processing perspective. So what are those 2 or 3 things that you're looking at to say, yes, this is good. It's working. It's achieving what you want, which is a faster, quicker, smoother checkout experience. How do you measure that?
We measure it by the size of basket. So usually people who are happier shopping and it's easier, they'll buy more units. So that's one thing we're looking at. Average invoice, average basket, number of units per basket. How many users are actually using it? We try to aim for a 10% transaction during our tests. Once we deploy a little bit more and we train the employees to ask the customer or to entice the customer to use the solution. And we do talk to our employees also. Did we have anybody leave today with just leaving their purchases without necessarily closing an abandoned cart? We've got the same thing online as we do in the store. So how many people are just leaving because it's too long and they just say no? We're not there yet, but we have some basic KPIs we're looking for, and we do see that the average basket is a little bit higher. So that's interesting. We get also something that's very important for retailers is we get the customers' information from what they've purchased. We get their emails, and we can anonymize the information, so we don't start bothering them with the marketing or stuff like that. But we do get the information and associate it to an email, and then they can opt in, opt out to our marketing.
Get the receipt, I guess they get the receipt and all those things.
The receipt is all electronic. That's good for us. That's good for the customers. And they can come back with that receipt, that electronic receipt for a future return or exchange or whatever. They can come back and the receipt will be good. It's all linked to the entire POS and ERP system.
Oh, that's great. So they could bring it back theoretically, they could bring it back to any of your stores because it's all linked.
Any of the location, it's going to work.
Okay. That's really smart.
So everything is linked up together, which makes it very interesting for the customer and very interesting for us. So this is pretty much it.
Cool. Now, Olivier, one question for you. It's one thing to create a solution. It's another thing to have it in field and watch a customer like La Vie en Rose use it. Did you learn anything about your tool that surprised you? Are you making changes, or tell me a little bit about this project from that perspective?
Yeah, well, what I can say is we were learning every day. When we discuss with employees, with customers, at the end of the checkout journey, there's a rating system to know if people are liking it. But I think where we learned the most was how to integrate our technology with platforms of large retailers. Before we only integrated with systems such as Lightspeed, which is not made for a large enterprise.
Right.
And building the technology to have the reconciliation part works well. Same thing as inventory, making sure the POS has an exact inventory of their stores and that we are not sending the order afterward. And so they can keep a good level of accuracy. That was a lot of very interesting learning on building a solution made for enterprise retailer. And in terms of user experience, well, I think one of the best learning that we are doing right now is about the user journey. Where should we get activated? What is the best way to communicate with the customer? And also on the whole UI of the application, what are people tapping on their phone? Everyone is a bit different, but we see some ways that people are using it that we didn't see before or we didn't thought about. And that's all improvement we're trying to make. And I think we are quite good at being fast on making improvement and updates for the system. Our team is honestly great on that side, and we're doing updates very often to make it better and faster for the customer, but also a better backend technology for the retailer. That's the same thing for a dashboard that we built. We want to give the most features that any employee in the store would ask for. One of them was something we didn't talk about was how can I add a product to a cart in the web application of a customer, but from my dashboard. And we didn't know that was something an employee would like to do.
I could see that outside a change room, right? Like, I love this. Could you get me a different size, or could you get it in blue, or could you get me something different, right? That's interesting.
Exactly. Yes. So on the dashboard, you can run on the computer, but also like an iPad. And you can tap on the cart of a customer and just add a product, remove a product if you want. And that's going to be updated in real time on the web application of a customer.
Wow.
So
that's
like
slick. That's really clever.
Thank you.
I like that. Now, Eric, last question for you. Advice to the fellow retailers listening or CIOs listening about the way forward. Many retailers tell me they're keeping or accelerating their investments in technology, either to keep up or because they postponed them, or they need to do what you're doing, which is delight the customers in new ways. Any advice that how to find great vendors like Leav, or what's your top advice for the folks listening?
I think watching what's going on is one of the most important thing. There are shows out there for retailers or technology shows. They're interesting, but go in the malls, look at your kids if you have kids, see what they do, see how they shop, spend time with the staff in the stores, talk to the customers. When you go to other retailers, ask them how things are going so you can educate yourself on what the actual problems are.
Right.
And technology is there. There's no way out. So I'm a bit of a black sheep in the CIO community. Don't stop spending money in technology. And it's still a very small percentage of the total top line.
Right.
It's still below 2% for most companies in retail. So you know what? It's not that expensive. It might sound lots in dollars, but don't stop investing. There are good solutions out there that are not that expensive. There are good startups that can help you, that can come up with. You need to talk to them. You need to choose them. You need to make sure that they're just not, pushing dust around. But don't stop doing it. Keep looking what's going on.
Be
stop
curious,
investing.
I guess. Right?
Be curious. Stop investing on-prem systems. The cloud is there. It's convenient. It is faster to grow. cybersecurity is a challenge, and we have to be very wary about that. It's growing, but keep listening, keep asking questions, and you know what? Above all, have fun. It's about fun. And retail is fun for the customer. It's supposed to be fun. I'm talking about doing a grocery. Even doing a grocery can be fun. Yeah. But keep the smile, keep people smiling, and enjoy technology without being a techie. I don't have tons of gadgets in my house. I don't have tons of gadgets in my office, but I have stuff that makes my life easier and can help other people's life make it easier. But above all, technology is fun. None of our jobs existed 45 years ago in technology. So, you know what? It's still growing. Enjoy it and be a part of it. That instead of being a prisoner of technology, make it yours, make it change, make it move forward.
Thank you so very much for joining me on the Voice of Retail podcast. A real treat to hear what's going on at Leav & Rose and what's happening on the very, very front lines. Congratulations, Olivier, on Leav, and I wish you both continued success, and hope to check back in and see how it is a year from today and where you're at.
Well, thank you very much for having us. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much. Super appreciated.
Thanks for tuning into this special episode of The Voice of Retail. If you haven't already, be sure and click and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so new episodes will land automatically twice a week. And check out my other retail industry media properties, the Remarkable Retail Podcast, Conversations with Commerce Next Podcast, and the Food Professor Podcast with Dr. Sylvain Charlebois. Last but not least, if you're into barbecue, check out my all-new YouTube barbecue show, Last Request Barbecue, with new episodes each and every week. I'm your host, Michael LeBlanc, president of Emmy LeBlanc Company and Maven Media. And if you're looking for more content or want to chat, follow me on LinkedIn or visit my website at emmyleblanc.co. Have a safe week, everyone.